Disney's Snow White has been a box office disaster.
Let's address the elephant in the room.
But listen here as the star, Rachel Zegler, does a massive backflip.
There are messages in both films that everyone needs to hear. It's timeless. That's what makes it a classic.
She's gone from bagging the original story to saying it's an example to admire.
I don't need your business.
You know what? Maybe Disney does.
Rachel Zegler hurt the film's box office with her actions.
I'm off the deep end. That's my party trick.
I think you're a piece of crap. She has been sabotaging this film for years at this point.
I think it's a very human thing to not always see the bright side.
And she's in fact going to be a girl boss feminist who don't need no man.
Weird. There is a message that's been carried on for almost 90 years now from the original animated classic.
Let's check in with the star of the movie, Rachel Zegler, being totally normal here.
Disney's worst investment ever in the history of Disney investment.
In a last-ditch effort to save her image and the movie's reputation, Rachel Zegler suddenly reversed course on everything she'd said before.
But that is part of the beauty of Snow White. It has been for 88 years now that she just sees the good in everyone and everything.
Seemingly overnight, she began gushing about the importance of the prince and the classic love story. Yes, the same one she had mocked just months earlier.
I had a song for Snow White and Jonathan, like for the love story. It was Cowboy Like Me. So I would love to tell the folks at home. I would love that.
According to insiders, Disney executives pushed her to publicly walk back her remarks, hoping to calm the backlash and reframe Snow White as a romantic fairy tale again.
There's a lot of responsibility there, and so you have to take excellent care of the classic versions of these stories that people care so deeply about.
But instead of sounding genuine, Rachel's sudden praise felt awkward, robotic, and painfully insincere.
So just the values of Snow White, the kindness, her beauty, the way she treats wildlife and all of the people that she meets, it's a timeless concept. And I think that's why it continues to mean so much to people.
Fans weren't buying it. Online commentators called out the interviews as yet another scripted PR stunt. The pivot only amplified criticism, painting Disney as a corporation scrambling to patch up a self-inflicted wound.
160-something thousand reviews with a 1.6 stars. Absolutely embarrassing.
Disney, their big blockbuster movie has plummeted, much like the Democratic approval ratings that reached, I think, an all-time low at, 27%?
So how did Disney destroy a beloved classic and its own reputation at the same time? 2 words: Rachel Zegler. They thought pandering to a woke audience would bring applause and cash. Instead, they got controversy, cringe, and a collapsing box office.
A really important presidential election coming up. Vote for Kamala Harris.
You actually don't want to know what celebrities think politically.
When you prioritize political checklists over powerful storytelling, you alienate the very fans who made you iconic. Rachel went viral, but not for the reasons she hoped.
Cartoon was made 85 years ago, and therefore it's extremely dated when it comes to the ideas of women being in roles of power.
Her viral interviews slammed the original Snow White as outdated and even called the prince a stalker, faster than Disney could roll out damage control.
Other movie companies are going to look at her and they're going to say box office poison. A lot of this is due to her behavior leading up to the film's release.
Absolutely, she is just uniquely unlikable.
Seriously, Rachel? Nothing screams Disney magic like publicly trashing the character you're paid to portray. Suddenly, Snow White wasn't about timeless wonder. It was about virtue signaling.
Because you just can't close your mouth. You just can't be sane. I think this girl does not deserve a feature-length film. She deserves to be in a padded cell.
You want to trash that legacy? That company that now Disney has screwed up the last 5 years trying to please a small percentage of minorities in America? Yeah, we're sick of it. So the more you do this, Disney, Iger, Rachel Zegler, whatever her name is, yes, this is exactly the backlash you're going to get from parents who have kids who are your customers. You're talking to kids? The parents pay for the tickets. If I'm Bob Iger, you know what we're doing? Emergency meeting, because you just screwed this thing up.
Disney, never one to miss a misguided trend, rewrote the entire story. Out went Prince Charming, and in came Rachel's empowered version of Snow, white, complete with political undertones and zero romance.
163,000 rating, 1.6 out of 10.
You've got to reject men. They have to be painted as toxically masculine. You have to spit on true love. Like, that is not a value that is universal.
By gutting the heart of the original tale, Disney didn't just disappoint longtime fans, they offended them. The result? A film no one wanted, and a message no one asked for.
God forbid a woman dream about true love. We're all just sitting around here, oh, maybe I could be president one day. I hate that, I just want to be president.
Making it worse, Rachel complained about fans recognizing her at Disneyland. Imagine that, a Disney princess shocked that Disney fans know who she is.
You ever been to that Snow White ride?
I watched it once, and then I went on the ride in Disney World, which was called Snow White's Scary Adventures. Was terrified of it. Never revisited Snow White again.
Disneyland?
I get stopped for photos every time I'm online for the Snow White ride, and it is I have to pretend like, oh God, well, crazy that we're in front of this. Because every time they come up to me, I'm always online for this freaking ride, and they think it's like I'm standing there waiting for the photo op, being like,
wait, how often are you in line for the Snow White ride?
I'm a narcissist.
Poor Rachel. Must be tough. Cashing those Disney checks while dreading fan attention. Her remarks came off as bratty and ungrateful, and fans didn't hold back.
Oh, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so.
Disney fans are offended by Rachel Zegler's comments.
Even Disney CEO Bob Iger later admitted their so-called diversity push was more about chasing headlines than honest inclusion.
What we want to make, and I felt that it was time for Marvel's storytelling to much better reflect the world we were doing business in. I'm a big believer in that, whether you call it diversity or inclusion. But the bottom line is that doing so is good for commerce. It was good for commerce.
Turns out all those speeches about representation were just profit-driven marketing plays. Fans, and even insiders, saw right through the performance.
Say that numbers talk, BS walks. People are screaming, Disney, get it together. Who is the Disney's customer? You talk about this all the time, Pat. It's families and it's parents who are paying for their kids to go to movies or go to theme parks or buy products. And you have parents looking at Disney being like, what are you doing, guys? Like, this is supposed to be a place where magic happens. And all you're doing is indoctrinating kids, and you're having this person be the poster child of the Democratic Party. She is basically...
And it's not just Disney. Hollywood today is drowning in preachy lectures disguised as entertainment. Actors spend more time virtue signaling than promoting the actual movie.
Leaning into woke, hardcore.
They're petrified of some kind of backlash.
And dealing with the frustration of reteaching people a word that has been in the human vocabulary since the dawn of time. They, them, poetically, a person who is simply more.
These are raging narcissists. They believe that they are more than the rest of us, us normal people with our boring singular pronouns.
With shrink.
And with audiences tuning out and box office numbers shrinking, maybe, just maybe, Hollywood will realize people watch films for escapism, not lectures.
If you want to look at why the Democratic Party has reached all-time lows, look no further than what Disney is doing with their woke, DEI, feminist agenda.
Peter Dinklage complained about it, right? He whined on a podcast, and he's like the most famous, successful dwarf ever.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't be if he was not a dwarf, saying, it makes no sense to me. You're progressive in one way, but you're still making that backward story about 7 dwarfs living in a cave together. Have I done nothing to advance the cause for my soapbox? I guess I'm not loud enough.
Tired of the moralizing, fans clapped back hard. TikToks, memes, and angry reviews roasted Disney for turning a fairy tale into a political statement. And shocker, it wasn't good for business.
He's also just a spoiled, entitled, narcissistic brat.
Rachel's cringe-worthy appearances on talk shows only made things worse. Her forced apologies were about as authentic as a Disney PR statement.
There's been so much buzz about this and about you. What's it like hearing people say all these really nice things?
It's very validating. A lot of hard work has gone into this film, but so much love.
As Disney's stock dropped and analysts questioned its future, even Bob Iger had to admit things weren't working. Whispers suggest Disney might finally return to traditional storytelling. But is it sincere, or just another strategy. Either way, the damage is done. Disney insulted the fans who built its legacy. Now it's racing to rebuild the magic it carelessly threw away.